pray to God as we celebrate the life of Carlo Petrucci. Lord, consecrate this time we have together with family and friends to look back on Carlo's life. We thank you that he is out of pain. He's able to once again hear without hearing aids, able to dance and sing to his heart's content. I imagine he's greeting his father and mother, stepdad, brothers and sisters, Lou Campagna, Jay Di Lorenzo, Barbara, and others in a happy reunion. For we know that Dad believed Jesus, who said, "I am the resurrection and the life. Anyone who believes in me will live even after dying." Dad knew that we entered this life with nothing, and it's certain we carry nothing out. The Lord gives and the Lord takes away. But in all things, blessed be the name of the Lord. Let's join me in the Lord's Prayer. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven.
Give us this day our daily bread, as we forgive those who trespass,
as we forgive those who trespass against us.
and
Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Forever and ever. Amen.
Are you starting? Or?
I was going to, but I'm not really ready.
You're not
so,
ready.
Yeah.
Okay. Join us again in 3 weeks, and Gina will. Maria, Joe, who?
Well, I wanted to start with something Mom sent about Carlo Joseph Petrucci. I met Carlo in the autumn of 1949.
Is anybody recording this?
Yeah, I'm audio recording.
You're on it? Okay.
Okay.
Sorry, Joe.
Thank you.
I worked one Sunday at the Fairmont, West Virginia movie theater selling tickets for the shows. When I was done working, it was a Sunday, I got the notion that I wanted to go to Newburgh, where my parents lived, and stay overnight. So I went to Fairmont's railroad station. On the way there, I met a couple of guys I knew. One of them carried my overnight bag. While waiting for the train to stop and board passengers, Carlo looked out of the train. He had already boarded, and saw me with the two guys talking. He told me later that he thought one was my boyfriend, a not too good-looking guy, and said to himself, "If a girl that pretty has a boyfriend that ugly, maybe I have a chance." After I got on the train, I took out a cigarette and was smoking. Carlo didn't smoke cigarettes, but he did have a cigar in his duffel bag, which he found and came to where I was sitting. Said, "Do you have a match?" I gave him matches, and he said, "Do you mind if I sit here with you?" "No, of course not." He had on his airborne uniform. We talked a bit, found out he had a brother who was a priest. Of course, I told him about my sister, B, who was a nun. When he told me his brother's name, Pete Petrucci, I said, "Oh my gosh, I attended his mass this morning."
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Both of us had to change trains in Grafton, West Virginia. I was going to Newburgh. He was going back to Fort Bragg, North Carolina. He got my address and wrote every day.
Oh my gosh.
I read a lot of those letters.
Yeah,
Kept them.
yeah, we still have them. They've been kind of dispersed, right?
Why aren't they on the table?
Well,
Not up for grabs.
Let's pass them around, Jim.
The whole family.
I understand.
There's a lot of the family in here.
He came back to his home in Farmington, West Virginia on Thanksgiving for leave. Seemed like we both had fallen in love with each other. The rest is history. He got as many leaves as possible, asked me to marry him, and we got married June 10th, 1950. Carlo was always a good provider and a good man. Things went kind of bizarre at times during our marriage. Unfortunately, for whatever reason, we divorced. All through the years, I continue to have a special place in my heart for him. One's life cannot always be truly predicted. I am grateful he was the father of my children. So,
You gonna
Nice.
reproduce that and send it to everybody?
Sure, I can do that.
That's wonderful. Yeah.
So, Mom and Dad both expressed regret at having gotten divorced, and I just want to say to all the young people here, there isn't a marriage that doesn't go through rough times, and that doesn't have to sometimes just cling to the covenant
Is that your daddy?
and know that love is an action, not always a feeling. So when you're going through those times, you just work through them and you get stronger.
Very good.
Yes.
Maria.
Mine's brief and includes the story Dee told this morning with a little bit of a difference. I wasn't around Dad much in my earlier adult years because I lived in Virginia and then in California. And then I came back to Maryland and then he went to Florida. But
Is there a connection there?
Nope. But these past 8 years or so, after his memory started declining, he was back in Maryland. I was fortunate to be with him a lot more. Even though he was often frustrated and wanted to go home, that was West Virginia, which was difficult for me to hear. He would initially perk up when Aaron and I came to visit.
Where's Aaron?
And we were able to have some repeated conversations and good visits. In this last year, he has not always known who we were, but I think he could sense we were family. Dad's love, kindness, gentleness, and generosity shone through. When I went for a visit a few days ago, he could not talk. He was moving around, a little agitated. He accidentally hit me, gently. And I felt like what he did was sort of like an apology. He just went, kind of like, I'm sorry I hit you. Something else. I am so very happy that Dad got to know Aaron. One memory, those two really had a special relationship. One memory I had was of some of us in the family taking Dad out for a meal. Aaron and I helped him find the way to the restroom, waited outside when he was done. And when he came out, Aaron took his arm, hers, walked him back to the table. Not the only time she's done that. It was very sweet, and Aaron really loved going to see him. Oh, yeah. Yep.
Anyone else?
I know Jimmy's going to speak.
Well, I'll read to you what Pastor sent to me. My father, she called it Carlo's celebration of life. My father-in-law was the sweetest man on the planet. When I first met him, he was single, and at some point I told him that if I hadn't met Paul first, I didn't know she was going to say that.
All that said me too.
Yeah, so I don't think I can read any of this. If I hadn't met Paul first, I would have married him instead. He paused, looked at me, and said, "That's funny, my other daughter-in-law told me the same thing." That would have been this one here. Obviously, both Paulette and I knew from the moment we met him that he was special, or else Carlo had a great sense of humor. At age 68, Carlo was supposed to go to Italy with Paul. Age 68. Carlo was supposed to go to Italy with Paul, July of 1995. They had already rented a villa in Marina di Pietrasanta and were going to have a father-son vacation together. However, after Paul and I met, Paul extended an invitation to me to go to Italy with them. The villa had 3 bedrooms, and I said yes. What could be more fun than to spend 2 weeks with 2 Italian stallions in some tiny fishing village? Actually, I told her I was going to take that part out, but I forgot. So I didn't think it was appropriate. Shortly before the start of the vacation, Carlo had to cancel due to some business obligations. Paul and I went without him, and it turned out to be the most magical vacation ever, and we got married 16 months later. Years went by, and I finally asked Carlo why he didn't join us back then. I had a suspicion. And he told me that he didn't want to be the third wheel. So he figured it was more important for Paul and I to have time together. It turned out that Carlo would never go to Italy again. He made this sacrifice for us, knowing full well that this may have been his last chance to visit his homeland. That's the kind of person he was: generous, considerate, big-hearted, loving, funny, and fun-loving. And boy, was he handsome. I am sad that our daughter never had a chance to know Carlo the way I did. She would have loved him. When I look at pictures of Carlo holding her or playing with her when she was little, it doesn't show that she is his 15th grandchild. He loved number 1 as much as he did number 17. We called him Grampy Poo. Not even sure how to spell that. Carlito. I woke up at 2:30 a.m. PST, 5:30 a.m. Eastern Standard on Monday morning. I like to think that you came by to say farewell. Until I see you again, rest well, and thank you for each and every moment I was able to spend with you over the last 22 years. I love you.
When you were here for the 90th birthday, I think that Joe was going around asking everyone what their memories were of, their fond memories of Uncle Carlo, and I think naturally we all share the love he had for each of us and for the family, and he'd come back to West Virginia, and actually he visited me in times in Ohio, but I think beyond that, one of the things that I remember or I think about is the ability for him to keep going even in the face of defeat. You know, if you look back from when he first started, and I think some of you hit on this today, he tried a number of different things. Some that I think you know about, and some we were just discussing a little earlier that maybe you don't even remember, the things that he tried to, little businesses he started and things he was going to sell. I can recall him talking many times with my dad. You know, maybe I could try this, or maybe I could try that. One thing, it didn't work out, but it didn't stop him. I think that's the lesson that we all take from that is that hey, defeat is just momentarily for him, and then the next step, he had the potato chips, and then that didn't work out. Then he went to Laurel, Maryland. I can remember making that trip down, and eventually it worked out, and he became very successful. And they say you judge the person by what they left behind, and I think it's a pretty successful life he had.
He took me to my first baseball game. I don't know how old we were, maybe. And I don't know, we were working, when we come in, and we would work there for a week. And I can't remember completely, but it was me and him, Uncle Pete and Dad. And it was raining. We went to see Baltimore at the old stadium. I think Brooks Robinson. I don't know if I was 10 or 12. So we started saying the rosary and in the rain. And when we got there, it cleared up and we lost the game. And then I remember working a little bit when he was tearing down walls and stuff, and fixing the dinner theater up from the regular theater, and then when me and Rem started doing stuff like that, I thought Uncle Carlo would like this project. And then at the end, when him and Barb were together, they would come up to our house. When they come to Farmington, they would stay with us. And we had some really nice evenings, just talking, on the back porch. Really nice. That's what I remember.
So I'm going to say something.
Sorry.
I was thanking Dad for teaching me to talk to people, because I was always really, really shy. And watching Dad, you'd think everybody was his best friend. And he shared with me that he was very, very shy and introverted, and that it didn't come naturally to him. And that was really, I never knew that. He just shared that with me.
Yeah,
Within the
shared that
last
with me too.
10, 20 years or something. It was really an inspiration, because he went door to door selling things. I just couldn't imagine myself doing something like that. And, he did what he had to do, whether it was outside of his comfort zone or not.
I'm going to kind of segue from that. We were always raised to value education, and that came from our mother, I think. And Dad, I have his high school graduation yearbook that I picked up, and he didn't get very good grades, I know.
Phys Ed was 95.
Phys Ed was really up there. It was his best. And the second one was art, I think, was up there too. And I remember being in Pal Jack's, and he would he would do the math to determine if a budget was being followed, etc. And I would always follow behind and correct his mistakes. He wasn't very good at math. And when he was going to be president of the Main Street Business Association, Mom was a little scared, remember? Do you remember this?
Oh, I think I know what you're saying.
She was kind of saying to him, you don't know how to speak in front of people. You can't give, I don't know if she said you can't, but yeah, like you'll have to do a lot of speeches, and she was concerned about that. He said, well, I'm going to do it anyway, and of course he was very successful. He wasn't afraid. Maybe he was a little bit shy or whatever, and he was an eloquent speaker, and he wasn't good at math, and I don't think he read more than a couple books in his life, and yet those people voted him to be their president because he was a leader.
They wanted him to run for mayor.
Really?
They did. Really?
What was that?
Run for mayor.
Say again. Say what you said again.
They wanted him to run for mayor.
So I I was thinking about Pal Jack's years. I had two memories. One was from Pal Jack's. I was working with Dad. I was in 10th grade, and one of the salesmen came in, and he spoke very uncouthly, and he was cursing, and he's trying to sell him stuff. Not cursing at him, but just that's how he spoke. And he challenged Dad to a bet. He said, "You're wrong, and I'll kiss your behind if, blah, blah, blah." And Dad said, "That's it. I'm not going to buy from you again. I want you out of here and don't ever come back." He led from not only his heart, but from what's right. And he knew he didn't want me to listen to that either. And so the second memory is from Boys Club. I was probably 3rd grade or 4th grade. We constantly had to raise money. So after football practice or baseball practice, whatever it was, a bunch of the kids went with 2 of the parents, Dad and another one, to businesses to see if they would donate money. And at the end, we took several hours and we had skipped dinner. And at the end, we went to a pizza place and they bought pizza for everybody. And neither this man nor Dad had much money, obviously. But the other guy was saying, well, taking his wallet out. And Dad said no. He said, the right thing to do is to take the money that we just got from donations and use that. And looking back on it, I thought that's so important because it's not like he's doing it because he doesn't have the money either. That's like the typical thing, oh, we shouldn't take it, and people might think that we're taking money. And even if I don't think, even if I'm doing it for the right reason, people would be too ashamed or too afraid of what others would think to suggest that. But he knew what was right, even when it's not obvious. He just had this genuine knowing about him. He knew what to do, what the right thing was. And it didn't matter that he couldn't speech as well, and it didn't matter that he wasn't educated. So that was why he was a leader, and Dave spoke to that today as well.
He told me the reason he didn't read much is because when he was little, and his mom had the grocery store to run, and he would sit in front taking care of customers, that he had to get up and work. He would try to read, and he had to get up and work so much that he couldn't keep reading and get into the book or whatever. So that was one of the reasons he didn't read much. Never got into the habit or whatever. Yeah.
Speaking of leadership, just segueing on that a little bit, I couldn't wait to be able to play CYO basketball because I saw the older kids playing and Dad coaching. And he coached our basketball team, which was really bad. We couldn't win a game. And halfway through, he gave us some encouragement. He said, if you can win one game, I will buy you all, have a pizza party for you all. He never told us that we were bad. Just looking back, he was just very encouraging, and he threw down that gauntlet, and daggone, we won a game. We were 1-7. I remember Katie's got to go.
Oh, okay.
Thank you. Yeah, do you remember?
Yes.
Bye, Dan.
Bye, Katie.
Bye, Katie.
Bye,
Andy.
Bye, Andy. Thanks for
Bye,
sharing.
Andy. Just a real quick second. Make sure everyone gets a prayer card and a in-memory card. And for those who haven't heard, on the back of the prayer card, this verse is from Father Pete's prayer card. So I thought that was interesting. So there are some here if you haven't gotten any.
I remember when Dominic was so sick in the nursing home, we went to the hospital. And when we knew he wouldn't probably come out of the hospital before Carlo came, and he stayed with me at the time. Of course, we had a chance to talk, but we went to the hospital every day, and of course, some of the family, and he stuck right there with him. We just stayed there day, and, well, not into the night, and when he passed away, well, we had just gone downstairs to get something to eat, and I wanted to stay because we knew it was his time was near. And he goes, "No, let's all go down." And I think he knew because when we came back up, Uncle Dominic had passed away. So I think, and just having him there was important to us. And then just another little thing. One time, it's when I was working more on the family tree stuff. I said, "Uncle Carlo, what if we come across some stuff that's not good, that's bad about the family?" He goes, "Oh, just leave it out." I'll never forget that.
So 43 years ago, and I'm going to be emotional, but I kind of introduced as an honorary Petrucci, and I guess you guys didn't know you'd be stuck with me all this time. But I just, looking back over my life, when you're there, you just don't understand what's going on because you're a kid. But I was sharing with Paul, I think it was you yesterday, about the vacations, like, going to Ocean City and Dad didn't have a plan, and we showed up on the boardwalk and went into several places that were too expensive and ended up in this awful place on the boardwalk. We stayed for the weekend, and it was like iron beds and has mattresses that. One room. Yeah, do you remember that? Yes. Yeah. So we all slept in you were there, so you remember that, and just but I never felt like a burden. And with a family of 9 kids and me kind of self-inserting myself into the family, and I just, eating meals at your house, and I remember going on very personal trips, like Danny was somewhere at one point, and the family took me along and I just, I can't, and for everyone in this room, and not just for Mom and Dad, but I just can't thank you guys enough for loving me and, allowing me to be a part of your family, and just including me in something like this today is so special because each and every one of you means more to me than I could ever express in words. And that goes for your dad and your mom, and I have great memories of all of you in different, Joe wearing your clothes. Remember Gloria and I would go in your closet and play dress up with your clothes. And then leaving them in heaps on the floor.
They were Sis's clothes.
Yeah, but thank you all, and I owe a world of gratitude to your parents. I've told Gloria before that, I've hijacked. Your mom sends me letters, and I write her back, and it's just so sweet to be a part of this family, and I really do truly feel like you guys are an extension of my family, and I love that. I'm number 10.
He's one of the 9.
Are you younger? Or?
I'm younger. Your mom calls me number 10.
You are 10.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I hope next year, if we do decide to do the reunion in West Virginia and bury the ashes, it's like those of you that have not been to West Virginia or have not been there for a long time, like to see Bessie Ann Hill, where Nana Petrucci had her grocery store, where they lived, during those really tough times. I hope that, we'll get a date early maybe and make that just more than just a family reunion, but a really special special day. I mean, you're not going to see much, but that is where she had that store. Yeah, and in Grafton, where the first part of the family started.
Going up to Oregon?
Huh? Oh. Yeah, I remember that.
We used to live here.
Yeah.
Our house.
Yeah.
We used to live here. Oh, okay, every 10 years, Petrucci's come
We used to live in this neighborhood. I don't even remember we used to live in this house. We used to live in this neighborhood. We'd spend like a couple hours in someone's living room.
Bessie Ann Hill. So when Dad lived with us in Florida, every day, he would be so concerned because he had not milked that cow. And he had, who's going to milk the cow? She must be in such pain by now. He always felt for that cow. And I, of course, I was kind of chagrined because it's like, oh my God, the cow again. But Astra's like, oh, he's got such a big heart. He even, cares about that cow. That's my Bessie Ann story.
So did you milk the cow?
I didn't go that far. There is a point.
Say, how long have you been away? And he'd say like a week, and she'd say, I think someone's taking care of the cow.
Yeah.
One time when Gloria and I were in high school, and we must have been 16, and I smoked for like a year. And Gloria smoked, and your dad found cigarettes in her room. So she did the great thing and said, "They're Susan's." And so the next time I was at your house, Dad came up to me and said, "Do you smoke?" And I said, "Yes." And he said, "So those were your cigarettes I found?" And I said, "No, those were Gloria's cigarettes, but I do smoke." And he just turned around and didn't say another word. He just turned around and walked away.
When he came here for dinner, he always had two things that he concentrated on. So he always sat where Patrick's standing. And he would look out at the trees, and he'd say, "Those trees are really tall. How tall do you think those trees are?" "Well, I'd say they're probably 70, 75 feet. "Wow. Those are some really big trees. How tall do you think those trees are?" So we'd go, through that. And then he would, I don't know how many times he said this, but more than once. "Isn't it amazing that you live in this house where I delivered milk 20 years ago?" And we'd say, "Yeah, how did we end up here?" But, we just went along with him. But he thought that was amazing that we live where he delivered milk.
Yeah.
So.
Many jobs.
Yeah. Well, he used to deliver milk in Rockville. So,
Wasn't that one of his first jobs?
that was his first job when he moved here.
Dr. Stanley, right? He sold Stanley cleaning products.
Was that first?
I forgot about that, yeah.
Floor brush.
That was West Virginia?
Floor brush.
Wasn't that on the side?
Maryland.
It's probably on the side. I think seal test is his first main job he got.
He went door to door, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I went door to door.
I went door to door with him selling potato chips.
Yeah, when did he sell Bon Ton? Did he sell Bon Ton? Here, yeah, in Maryland.
Bon ton.
When I was in 7th grade that summer, I worked with him on that truck, so that was 67. So he must have done it for a long time, though.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't remember how long. Yeah.
So I got a story here. Dad loved to speak with an Italian accent. In fact, Paul would redirect him all the time by doing that. He was great at redirecting his repetitiveness or whatever. So when we first bought the movie theater, we operated it as a movie theater for a little while, just to bring in income while we were renovating. And Uncle Jimmy was visiting, and he asked Uncle Jimmy to take care of the place while he ran over and got something to eat. So just as a joke, he called him up on the telephone and asked him in broken English, "What a movie you have it tonight?" And Jim said, "Oh, I don't know." Carlo says, "What do you mean you don't know? What do you play at your theater?" So I come and see myself. How much are the tickets? Jim says 70 cents. Good night and thank you. And all this time, Mom and whoever else was with them were laughing and laughing. And to this day, we don't know if Uncle Jim ever knew that it was Dad Holly.
My dad hardly ever left Farmington. So when he was here, it was important. One time he went to Florida where my sister lives. So those were really important trips to him because he hardly ever went anywhere.
And he got put to work.
I was a tour. I had a tour list every Saturday morning. And I was saying last night they were no joke tours. It wasn't like water the plants. It was scrub the walls.
And you couldn't go anywhere until they were done.
Yeah, wash the dishes of family with a bunch of kids and no dishwasher. You know, like, it was not free.
We were overjoyed to have another. We never really liked you that much.
Well, Gloria said she was always embarrassed to have people spend the night because your mom would give them chores the next day. So I was the only person, I guess, she felt like it was okay.
Dee and David captured Dad's essence very well this morning.
Yes.
And maybe we have time to repeat those here. And it's up to you, Dave.
Yeah, but we can do that. Do you want to have it memorized?
I happen to have a copy.
Paul has a copy. I'm sorry.
You videotaped it?
I've got it.
Oh, okay.
It's on Facebook.
Okay, good.
The audio didn't come out very
Rick
good.
said he put it on Facebook.
So the written version's there.
Oh,
I have the written
the
version
videoed
here.
version is on the celebration page.
Oh, it
Okay.
is?
Yeah.
All
Oh,
right,
good.
very good. Thank you, Rick, I
That's
guess.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank
Rick.
Did Rick, did he get mine, you know?
Yeah, he got both
The
of
written?
them, but it wasn't showing at the audio.
But he got your
Put
written.
it there written.
He didn't get mine.
Okay.
I don't think he got mine.
Did he get yours?
Written?
Written. Oh, okay.
Just want to read it.
Yeah.